Right. So today we are going to be doing a deep dive into Bajaj Electricals Limited's Q2 FY25 results.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so I've got a stack of their materials like we always do,
Right.
investor presentations, financial reports, and we even got some analyst questions.
Awesome.
So we're going to be trying to piece together
Yeah.
like a puzzle and
Yeah.
see what story these numbers tell us about how the company's really performing.
Yeah. I mean, what's fascinating is they announced like a modest
Yeah.
0.5% year-on-year revenue growth.
Right.
Now, you know that might not sound like much,
Right.
but for a company in a well-established market like consumer durables, like holding steady can actually be a sign of strength.
Okay, so no huge leaps, but they're not falling behind either.
The exact.
So let's unpack that a little bit further.
Right.
Their investor presentation shows their consumer products segment grew slightly,
Yeah.
about 1.2%,
Okay.
while their lighting solutions actually dipped by 2%.
Interesting.
So that's a bit of a head scratcher, isn't it?
But it suggests there are some interesting dynamics at play, like within their business lines.
Yeah.
You know, consumer products holding steady could point to resilience in that market.
Right.
Maybe even some brand loyalty.
Yeah.
But the decline in lighting solutions makes you wonder,
Yeah.
is that segment facing tougher competition?
Right?
Are there like external factors affecting it?
Yeah,
We need to dig deeper.
exactly. Now, here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Their general trade channel, which is kind of like their traditional retail sales,
Right.
saw a revival with about 4% growth year on year.
Okay.
Could this be a sign that the broader economy is bouncing back?
That's a possibility. But before we jump to conclusions,
Right.
4% growth needs context.
Yeah.
You know, how does it compare to pre-pandemic levels?
Right.
What's the overall market growth like?
Right.
If they're exceeding that, then it's a much stronger signal.
Okay, good point. It's not just the numbers themselves,
Yeah.
but what they tell us about the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they also mentioned single-digit growth in their other channels,
Okay.
institution, MFR, and e-com. So they're diversifying.
Mm-hmm.
But is that spreading them too thin, or is it a smart strategy?
That's what we got to figure out.
Yeah.
Sometimes focusing on too many channels can dilute your impact.
Right.
We got to look beyond just revenue growth, see
Yeah.
how each of these channels contributes to their overall profitability.
All right, so let's put on our financial detective hats
Uh-huh.
and take a closer look at their profitability. Where do we even begin with that?
Well, let's turn to their profit and loss statements. One thing that kind of jumps out at me
Yeah.
is a pretty substantial swing in other expenses,
Okay.
a difference of about 30 crore year on year.
Whoa.
That's kind of red flag.
Yeah, that's a big jump. Is this a sign of trouble brewing, or could it be like a one-off thing?
Looking closely, it seems that swing is mainly due to like a reversal of warranty provisions
Okay.
from the same quarter last year.
Oh, okay.
So thankfully, it appears to be a one-time adjustment.
Okay, that's a relief.
Rather than a systemic issue.
Yeah, but there's also an increase in depreciation because of new investments.
Right.
So they're spending money to grow.
Yeah.
But are they placing the right bets? That's the million-dollar question.
Exactly. Sometimes increased spending is a sign of confidence
Right.
in future prospects, you know?
Yeah.
It's like saying, we're willing to put our money where our mouth is,
Mm-hmm.
but we need to see if the rest of the data supports that confidence.
Right. And speaking of bets, their investor presentation is full of exciting new product launches.
Right.
Yeah, they're really highlighting this Super 5 Tough technology with a 5-year warranty.
Interesting.
It seems like they're tapping into consumers' desire for durable, long-lasting products. What do you think?
It's a smart move, especially if their marketing can effectively communicate that value proposition to consumers.
Right.
They've also got a bunch of other intriguing offerings like the Bajaj Ninja series,
Right.
the Crystal Crisp toaster,
Wow.
even a Next DT-D2 air cooler with like antibacterial honeycomb technology. Wow, they're not shying away from innovation.
It seems not.
But in a market saturated with choices, is all this enough to truly stand out and like grab market share?
That's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
The success of these launches is going to depend on so many factors.
Right.
Effective marketing, strategic pricing,
Right.
most importantly, consumer perception.
Yeah.
It's a complex equation.
Yeah, here's something that piqued my interest.
Okay.
They announced a voluntary retirement scheme,
Oh, wow.
or VRS, at their Nashik facility.
Okay.
What's the rationale behind that? Is it a cost-cutting measure, or
Mhm.
is there like a larger restructuring strategy at play?
VRS schemes often indicate a company's attempt to streamline operations,
Right.
increase efficiency.
Okay.
It can be a way to adjust their workforce to better align with current market demands.
Makes sense, but it comes at a cost, right?
Right.
They've allocated about ours 15.30 crores for this VRS.
Okay.
Will this investment ultimately pay off in the long run, or are they sacrificing valuable experience and expertise?
That's a crucial question.
Yeah.
While VRS can certainly lead to cost savings
Yeah.
and a leaner structure,
Yeah.
there's also the potential impact on employee morale
Right.
and the loss of institutional knowledge.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balancing act.
So lots of moving parts here.
Lots of moving parts.
So let's shift gears for a second.
Right.
Put on our analyst hats.
Okay.
How did market conditions affect Bajaj Electrical's performance this quarter?
Well,
Did inflation play a role, for example?
inflation has definitely been a headache for many companies.
Right.
As for market conditions,
Yeah.
we saw some positive signs in their general trade channel,
Right.
which suggests like a potential revival in consumer spending.
Yeah.
But, it's likely they're still navigating
Yeah.
a somewhat unpredictable economic landscape.
Right. It's not all smooth sailing just yet.
Yeah.
Now, what's the buzz on the street?
Uh-huh.
What are analysts saying about these Q2 results?
Yeah.
Has the market reacted positively or negatively? And what are the reasons behind that?
Unfortunately, the materials that you provided don't include
Done.
specific analyst opinions or like immediate market reactions.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
That kind of real-time feedback can be very insightful.
Right.
Because it reflects how investors are interpreting these results.
Okay, so looking ahead, what should investors be watching closely over the next few quarters?
Wow.
Are there any potential risks or opportunities on the horizon that we need to keep on our radar?
Well, the success of those new product launches is going to be a key indicator.
Absolutely.
Will they resonate with consumers and translate into strong sales figures? That's something to monitor closely.
What about the impact of the VRS at the Nashik facility?
You're right.
Will those anticipated efficiency gains actually materialize?
Yeah, that's another important development to track.
Yeah.
We also need to keep an eye on external factors
Oh, yeah.
like inflation
Yeah.
and its potential effects on input costs,
Right.
consumer spending. And of course, the overall trends in the consumer durable sector will play a significant role.
Okay, so there's a lot to keep our eyes on.
Yeah,
It's like a financial juggling act, keeping all these factors in mind.
right.
Now let's shift our focus to their overall financial health.
Okay.
What does their cash flow statement tell us?
Well, this is where things get really encouraging.
Okay.
Bajaj Electricals has a very healthy cash flow from operations,
Okay.
177 crore for the first half of FY25.
Wow, that's impressive. What's driving such strong cash flow?
They're attributing it to solid operating profits
Okay.
and effective working capital management.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they're good at generating cash from their core business operations
Right.
and efficiently managing their short-term finances.
Right.
You can think of it like balancing your own checkbook,
Yeah.
making sure you have enough cash on hand to pay your bills,
Right.
while also putting some aside for future investments.
That makes sense. And what about their balance sheet?
Mm-hmm.
Are they on solid financial ground?
Their balance sheet looks very robust.
Okay.
They have 35 crore in cash and cash equivalents.
Okay.
Another 343 crore in surplus investments at the end of Q2.
That's a comfortable cushion. Gives them some breathing room to maneuver strategically, wouldn't you say?
Definitely a strong cash position and a healthy balance sheet
Yeah.
are like a solid foundation for a house.
Right.
It gives them stability and the flexibility to invest in growth opportunities,
Yeah.
weather any unexpected storms.
All right, so we've dissected their performance,
Right.
scrutinized their financials, and even peeked into their strategic moves.
Yeah.
But for potential investors,
Yeah.
what's the bottom line here? What are the key takeaways from all of this?
Well, Bajaj Electricals is presenting a bit of a mixed bag this quarter.
Yep.
We see modest overall growth, but there are some intriguing shifts happening beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's like a financial mystery novel, right?
Yeah.
We got different segments performing differently, new products hitting the market,
Right.
and strategic moves like the VRS. It's
Mhm.
all very dynamic.
It is, and that means potential investors need to weigh both the upsides and the risks very carefully.
So let's break that down, starting with those new product launches. They've got everything from air coolers with antibacterial tech to toasters promising crystal clear crispiness.
Wow.
Do you think these innovations are enough to give Bajaj a competitive edge?
Well, innovation is the lifeblood of any industry,
Right.
especially in the fast-paced world of consumer goods.
Mhm.
Consumers are bombarded with choices, so standing out is key.
It's a constant battle for attention and market share.
Absolutely.
So how do these new products measure up against the competition? Are they truly unique, or is Bajaj just playing catch-up?
It's too early to say for sure.
Yeah.
You need to see how consumers respond and what the sales figures look like.
Yeah.
But based on what we see in their presentation,
Mm.
Bajaj seems to be focusing on what consumers really care about:
Right.
durability, convenience, and health.
Yeah, that 5-year warranty on their Super 5 Tough technology definitely caught my eye. It feels like a direct response to people being tired of appliances breaking down quickly. And those antibacterial features on their air coolers are tapping into the increased focus on hygiene post-pandemic.
Those are good points.
Yeah.
Those features align well with current consumer trends.
Right.
But will their marketing be strong enough to communicate that value?
Yeah.
Consumers need to see these products as not just different,
Right.
but better than the alternatives.
It all comes down to execution then.
Absolutely.
Even a fantastic product can flop if it isn't marketed well or priced strategically.
For sure. And that brings us to those strategic moves like the VRS at their Nashik facility.
Right.
That tells us Bajaj is serious about optimizing for efficiency.
Yeah, it's a bold move investing. Ours 15.30 crores in that scheme.
It is.
But will it deliver the cost savings
Yeah.
and the leaner operating structure they're aiming for? What are the potential downsides?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
While the goal is to improve efficiency, we can't ignore the potential impact on employee morale and the possible loss of experienced personnel.
It's a classic balancing act, isn't it?
It is.
They need to make sure they're not cutting corners or sacrificing quality in the pursuit of efficiency.
Right. And this is a challenge a lot of companies are facing right now,
Yeah.
trying to stay nimble and competitive in a somewhat uncertain economic environment.
Speaking of uncertainty, the market's reaction to these Q2 results will be a key indicator of how investors are feeling about Bajaj's performance and their future prospects.
It will be fascinating to see how the stock price moves
Yeah.
and what analysts have to say, unfortunately, that real-time data isn't included in the materials that you provided.
Right. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But
Yeah.
even with that immediate feedback, it feels like we're assembling a puzzle, getting a clearer picture of Bajaj Electricals with each piece of information.
Yeah, it's a high-stakes puzzle, for sure.
Yeah.
Investors are looking for companies that can not only survive tough times, but also capitalize on opportunities for growth.
So let's sum up what we know. Bajaj has a healthy cash flow, a strong balance sheet, and they're clearly investing in innovation. But the big question remains, will their strategy be enough to thrive in this rapidly changing market?
That's the ultimate test. They're
Yeah.
playing a long game,
Right.
and we'll have to wait and see how their decisions play out in the coming quarters and years. There's no crystal ball in investing.
It's about being patient, observing carefully, and making informed judgments based on the available data.
Sometimes it's also about trusting your gut.
Yeah.
Based on what we've uncovered in this deep dive, what's your sense of where Bajaj Electricals is headed? What stands out to you the most?
I'm struck by their approach.
Yeah.
They're not making any radical changes,
Right.
but they're not standing still either.
Right.
It's a very measured and balanced approach to growth and efficiency.
That's a good observation.
Yeah.
They're focusing on incremental improvements,
Right.
making strategic investments, and cautiously navigating a challenging economic landscape.
It may not be the flashiest strategy, but it could be a very effective one in the long run.
Sometimes slow and steady wins the race, especially when you're building on a solid foundation.
Yeah.
They have the cash flow,
Right?
the balance sheet strength, and the willingness to adapt.
Yeah.
Those are all valuable assets in today's unpredictable world.
They're not immune to risk, but they're not passive either.
Right.
They're actively shaping their own future.
And that's what makes this deep dive so engaging.
Yeah.
We're getting an inside look at a company in motion,
Right.
a company determined to stay ahead of the curve. It's a dynamic story that's still unfolding.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. We've gathered the clues.
Mhm.
We've analyzed the data.
Right.
But the final verdict is still out there. It's a cliffhanger.
A cliffhanger that will keep us all watching closely.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
there's one crucial aspect we haven't touched upon: the human element.
Oh, you're right. We've talked about financial strategies, market forces.
Yeah.
But behind all those numbers are real people whose lives are being affected by these decisions.
Exactly. The VRS at the Notchick facility, for example, will undoubtedly have a significant impact on the workers who choose to participate.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, but we can't forget that business decisions have very real human consequences.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that business isn't just about profits and losses.
Right.
It's about people.
And those people are the heart of any company. Their skills, dedication, and passion are the driving forces behind innovation, productivity, and ultimately growth.
Well said. We can't underestimate the human element.
While we don't have specific details about how these decisions are impacting Bajaj Electrical's workforce, it's important to keep that human perspective in mind as we continue to follow their journey, because behind every balance sheet, every earnings report, there are human stories unfolding.
Stories of ambition, resilience, and the pursuit of a better future.
Stories that deserve to be told and understood.
Yeah.
It is fascinating to think about those ripple effects
Right.
of business decisions and how they impact not just the company itself, but also the individuals.
Right.
Yeah, so we've really dug deep into Bajaj Electrical's performance this quarter, but
Yeah.
let's zoom out for a moment
Okay.
and look at the bigger picture. Where does Bajaj Electricals fit within the broader landscape of the consumer durables industry?
That's a great question. The consumer durables market is incredibly dynamic,
Yeah,
fiercely competitive.
right.
It's constantly evolving with new technologies, shifting consumer preferences,
Right.
and all those global economic forces that we talked about.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind of innovation and disruption, that's for sure. So how is Bajaj Electricals positioning itself to not just survive, but thrive
Yeah.
in this challenging environment? What are their strengths, their weaknesses, and where are the opportunities for growth?
Well, from what we've seen, one of Bajaj's key strengths is their solid financial footing.
Right.
They've got healthy cash flow,
Yeah.
a strong balance sheet,
Yeah.
and they're actively investing in growth initiatives. That gives them stability and the flexibility to adapt.
Those are definitely valuable assets in any industry, but especially in a market as unpredictable as consumer durables.
Right.
It's like they're building a strong foundation to
Yeah.
weather any storm.
Exactly. They also seem committed to innovation,
Yeah.
as evidenced by all those new product launches.
Right.
Whether those products will be successful remains to be seen, but they're definitely not standing still.
Right.
They're trying to stay ahead of the curve.
Innovation is key for any company that wants to stay relevant.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about creating new gadgets. It's about understanding what consumers want, delivering it in a way that's compelling
Yeah.
and adds real value.
It requires a deep understanding of market trends, consumer behavior, and emerging technologies.
Right.
It also takes a willingness to experiment, to take calculated risks and push the boundary.
And that's where those strategic moves like the VRS at their Notchick facility come into play.
Right.
They're aiming to optimize for efficiency, streamline their operations, which could give them a real edge.
Potentially, yes. But as we discussed earlier, there's a balance to strike. They need to ensure that those efficiency gains don't come at the cost of quality,
Right.
craftsmanship, or employee morale.
It's a classic business dilemma,
Yeah,
finding that sweet spot between efficiency and effectiveness.
it is.
And it's a reminder that in business, as in life,
Yeah.
every decision has a ripple effect.
It's like a game of chess where every move has consequences across the board.
Well said. And in this game, Bajaj Electricals is making strategic moves, trying to anticipate their competitors,
Right.
position themselves for success.
It's a high-stakes game with no guaranteed winners, that's for sure. But one thing is clear, Bajaj Electricals is not standing on the sidelines.
Right.
They're actively shaping their destiny, adapting, innovating, and pushing forward.
It's a reminder that business is about so much more than just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Right.
It's about vision, strategy, and a relentless pursuit of excellence.
And it's a reminder that the future is never set in stone. It's a blank canvas waiting to be filled with possibilities.
Yeah.
Companies like Bajaj Electricals are the artists shaping that future with their decisions and actions.
What a great analogy. We've uncovered a lot in this deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
But perhaps the biggest takeaway is this. Bajaj Electricals is a company in motion.
Absolutely.
They're making bold decisions.
Right.
They're investing in their future, and they're determined to succeed.
They're definitely a company worth watching.
Absolutely. So for our listener,
Yeah.
if you're intrigued by what we've discussed today,
Right.
we encourage you to do your own exploring. Check out Bajaj Electricals, full investor presentation, their
Yeah.
financial reports,
Absolutely.
and stay tuned for their next quarterly update.
For sure.
You never know what surprises they might have in store.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to spot the next big trend,
You're
the
right.
next game-changing innovation
Right.
that will propel Bajaj Electricals to even greater heights.
That's the beauty of the business world. It's full of fascinating stories waiting to be discovered. So keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and never stop exploring. Until next time, fellow knowledge seekers,